The periodic table of the elements.
It's true that there are 114 elements identified on Earth, but don't worry about cramming them all into your brain. Thanks to a guy named Dmitry Mendeleev, you have tons of information right at your fingertips, anytime you need it.
Back in the day, people tried organizing the elements in a bunch of different ways, like matching them to the musical scale.
But in the 1860s, Mendeleev, who was apparently kind of a neat freak, began grouping the elements by what they have in common. More elements have been added since his time, but we still use his work. We call it the periodic table of the elements.
The periodic table! The periodic table is a chart that shows every single element. Yes! Woo!
But it isn't just a list of the elements.
It's a cheat sheet.
It's more like a roadmap for all of chemistry.
It's a cheat sheet.
It's actually more like a roadmap because the elements are grouped by similarity, so there's a lot you can tell about each element by its location.
It's a cheat sheet!
Yeah, it's a cheat sheet. In fact, scientists say that the periodic table is predictive, which means it can be used to predict the properties of elements based on their locations. While Mendeleev worked on the original table, he correctly predicted 8 elements that hadn't yet been discovered.
It's like he predicted the latest trends. I once constructed a table to predict clothing trends. But luckily, tweed is always in fashion.
That's why it's a good idea to really understand the organization of the periodic table. Learn this now, and you'll be well prepared for the rest of the year and for any chemistry you take in the future.
Cheat sheet.
So let's get started. We'll begin by talking about how the table is put together. Then we'll move on to some of the trends and information just waiting for you in the table.
The periodic table is divided into squares, each of which gives basic information about one element. The big letters in the middle of each square are the element's chemical symbol. They're kind of like initials.
Warning. Some chemical symbols, like I for iodine, come straight from the element's name, but some of them don't. For example, the symbol for iron, Fe, comes from ferrum, the Latin name for iron. Some elements are named for the person who discovered them or the place where they were discovered. Don't fall for their sneaky tricks.
Below the chemical symbol is the element's full name. It's what its mother calls it when it's in trouble.
The number at the top of the square is the atomic number, which you already know. It's the number of protons in one atom of an element. The atomic number is always a whole number, like 6 or 117.
The number at the bottom of the square is the atomic mass, which is the mass of the entire nucleus. The atomic mass is usually a decimal because it's the average atomic mass of all isotopes of the element.
So that's what all those little squares are about.